Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about the final episode in the first serial of season one. This being episode 4, An Unearthly Child, the Firemaker. If you haven't checked out the first 2 episodes, you must watch them, as it's obviously a 4-part series. As all the old Doctors had serials, connected to different storylines. I mean, the next serial is set to be 7 episodes featuring one of the greatest villains of all time, the Daleks. I can't wait, but I'll talk about that in a few minutes when I touch on the end of the episode. But yeah, spoilers ahead, of course, for this episode. Hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and let me know down below your thoughts on classic Doctor Who, William Hartnell, season 1. Enjoy. So, An Unearthly Child, the Firemaker, it's crazy that we've had nearly 2 hours of the characters, the dialogue between the 4 core characters, the barbaric cavemen, and the whole plot is literally about them capturing them, hoping that they'll make fire for them. And Zar is, if Zar kills off Cal in this episode, Cal ends up snapping someone's neck in this episode. There's a lot of brutality and death in comparison to the modern day of, instead of just blasting people, it's snapping people's necks, it's chopping people in the neck, it's putting boulders on each other's head. It's a crazy comparison to what we have in modern day, and that's why I love Doctor Who in this sense. It's very different. It's not what we're used to. William Hartnell is a brilliant, brilliant Doctor. I always said this in the last episode. Ian is the driving force of the series. The 4 of them work well together because they have different elements and different personalities. I love how the Doctor was using the word companion multiple times in this episode. We saw no compassion. We saw I sort of the way I use it as a betrayal from the from Zar. How they got rid of Cal from Ian's perspective, and Zar was made leader from Fire, and then he put them in the cave, and then they had to escape, and then it was all back and forth. The story is very open ended at the end in the sense of I sort of wish they would made friends with the barbaric cavemen, but I'm using the word barbaric because I think that's what cavemen always were. If you're not supplying your food, if you're not supplying fire, you're not a good person or a good leader, and you're not fit to do the role. And therefore, other people would come in, take your goods, kill your family. And that's why I think it was a really interesting thing. There was no way of appeasing to these people, there was no way of getting through to them. And that's why it was such a good episode, because we're learning how well we've evolved from savages to compassionate. Well, I mean, still savagery in the world as we know it, but there are more compassionate people, but there was no compassionate people in this caveman group. The woman felt compassionate at times, but obviously in the last episode, they were trying to talk to her and befriend and all this sort of stuff. But Zar was just so headstrong about being leader. He got taught how to use fire. I thought it was a really cool scene. The whole getting the meat. He was treating them like friends, but he would never let them go because he wanted them to be the fire masters or fire makers. He'd be the guy who goes and gets the food, so that'd be a good teamwork. I thought the concept of the 4-part episode was brilliant. It was well pasted, camera work, visuals. You can't knock it for 1963. William Hartnell got a massive run on at the end when he ran to the TARDIS and he finally got out and escaped. What I love about it as well, because if you if you've been following Doctor Who for a long period of time, you'll know Hartnell's variation of the Doctor is the one who stole the TARDIS. And that is why I believe he's currently struggling to understand how to use the buttons on where to go, how to input times, and how to obviously get back to 1963. So that's what I love about the concept, and that's what I'm thinking, unless it's to do with his old age. I hope he's not, because then we got like 4 seasons of him playing on this whole old age thing. Um, but yeah, I think the first 4 episodes were fantastic, a solid 10 out of 10. I'd even give it a perfect 10 out of 10 just because of what it achieved at this stage in the world of science fiction and fantasy and action and adventure storylines. The 4 core characters are brilliant. I always say the Doctor and Ian stand out more. The women are just over the top at times. The screaming, the crying, it's just comes across as like really poor, and they just, again, it's 60s acting. Women were, lower in ranking in the way of acting back then. That's why there was always the damsel in distress characters. It's sitting in Indiana Jones. It's sitting in Star Wars films. It's sitting in all these different shows. But I just wish they would have acted a little bit differently, because they have so much potential. They are good characters in the serious roles. Susan is It's such a good character. She's headstrong, she's smart. She has the some elements that the Doctor doesn't have. She assists the Doctor in so many ways. All four of them just bounce off each other. I think it really works. I can't wait to see them develop into such a good group of people. Because I do know a couple of them obviously stick around for a long period of time. Obviously, I'm intrigued to see why the granddaughter Susan is retcon from Doctor Who history going forward. So that's obviously the main thing I'm looking forward to. But obviously the episode ends in the TARDIS with them getting away from the barbaric cavemen. And it just basically them landing in a new place, them him not knowing that they can't get back to 1963, not knowing how to, and they land on one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic planet in Doctor Who lore, history, whatever you want to call it, Skaro. I truly can't wait. The fact it's a 7-part serial is mad. And it makes sense why there's 30 episodes, because basically by the time we get to the Dalek, we're already a third of the way. So very excited for this. Hope you've enjoyed the first serial. Stay tuned for the second serial beginning tomorrow. The Daleks, that is what it's called. We've obviously subtitled names. I think it'll be one of the greatest arcs in William Hartnell's era. If the Daleks are cool and done well. And I don't know if Davros appears in this era, so I'm intrigued to see that. And just so many more creatures. They started off so well. I hope it just goes up and up and up and up. So let me know down below your thoughts on Doctor Who and Unearthly Child, the first serial in Doctor Who ever. Thanks for watching as always. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and goodbye.